The price of putting screens in the world, whether it be through LCD technology or whether it be through projection or things like that, has been dropping dramatically over the past decade, maybe even longer. And so we're seeing these screens appear in more and more places. I mean, it's more and more common that you're in an elevator and there's a screen there. You're in a subway station and there's a screen. But these screens are still being used in very impersonal ways. It's kind of, it's like the billboard. The wonderful thing about a billboard is that if you put it in a high traffic area, a lot of people see it. But the awful thing about a billboard is if the message on it isn't interesting to a person, it's a wasted opportunity. So with screens and sensing technology and identification technology, we can begin to know something about the people who are standing in front of these billboards, and we can start to make those billboards more useful to them. And presumably if it's more useful to them, they'll pay more attention, and that will give great returns to the people who put them up, because having their message seen is all about people paying attention to it. So I see it as sort of trying to create that win-win of having the environment be more interesting to you, and because it's more interesting to you, be more useful to the people who are paying to put that environment in place. The Media Lab's had the great fortune of recently building and opening a new building. And as we entered the final phases of this over decade-long project, we had the sudden realization that we were thinking about painting the walls with static signage, and that was not the Media Lab. That was the old way of doing things. And we have wonderful sponsors throughout our laboratory who make digital signage and things like that. So we decided to ask our corporate sponsors, our members, to help us out and outfit the building with screens everywhere, or as many places we could put them. And we have screens that vary and range from 46 inches that are on the entranceways and near the elevators and in big public areas of the laboratory to 70-inch monitors that we have inside some of our spaces. We also talked to some graduates of the laboratory who are some pioneers in RFID, and we got them to give us sort of an RFID network to put throughout the building so that we could know who was standing in front of the screens. And then we offered a class, a sort of a one-semester only class, where we got together 4 or 5 of the faculty members and about a dozen students, and we called it Considered Information Systems. And we thought about if you had a building that could interact with its visitors as well as its regular occupants, how would it do that? What would it be? What would we need? What would be the most interesting? And we came up with probably a dozen ideas along those lines. And then the following semester, we started putting it all together. We started installing these screens, writing the software, creating the system, and we continue to work on it now. It's about a 3-year-old project, and it continues to grow and evolve every day, kind of a living laboratory kind of thing. What it is at its core right now is it allows people to see what's happening in the building in sort of a more cerebral way than they can see using their eyes. So we have a building that's full of glass, and so we call this the glass infrastructure. You can see inside of every laboratory space. In fact, if you stand in our 3rd floor atrium, you can see into almost every corner of the lab right from there. So you can sort of see the people, you can see their activities, but you can't really see what they're thinking about. But the glass infrastructure lets you see what they're thinking about, because everybody kind of, as part of even just creating the lab's website, they create little text blurbs and pictures and videos about what they're doing, and all of that's available on these screens. And it's available also using some homegrown sort of AI that makes connections between projects. If you're interested in this project, you might also be interested in this other project. We also designed the whole system to be very social. So whereas most kiosks, like your ATM that you run in today, are designed so you can have privacy, these kiosks we've created are designed for social interaction. They recognize people, but they recognize multiple people. And when there's more than one person standing at the screen, they show you what you have in common. And they let you trade bookmarks and let you share your interest in the various things happening at the Media Lab. And when you come back, they remember what happened last time you were in front of them. And when you pair up with somebody different in front of the screen, you get a whole different set of interactions that you can have. So it's sort of designed to be a rich, dynamic social space, both just in its physical, the way the lab is physically designed, and now for an information system, we're trying to support it in that same way. We've had a lot of interest in the glass infrastructure, both from our members of the Media Lab and even some people who aren't. So we've been talking to people from as wide-ranging as companies that want to sort of create an environment within their own company where their own researchers and workers can have a better idea of what everybody's doing and how it relates together, and have started to set up these infrastructures in their company. We've talked to financial service providers, for example, banks and investment companies and things like that, who are working on putting displays like this into their customer centers, so that now it's not you talking to your banker about your investment strategy across a desk, but it's maybe you and your spouse standing together with your investment advisor in front of a screen where anybody can reach out and touch it and try something and see what happens and see how all the various products in their portfolio relate to each other and what might be a good combination for you. We've been talking to one very large and famous conference company that runs conference series about how putting these screens throughout their conference spaces would help the people attending the conference see something about, you know, the schedule of programs, the exhibitors, how they relate to each other, and share their interests around these kinds of screens. And we think there's also, I think there's also, just in this kind of idea, a lot of commercial application in things like advertising, where if I'm standing on a subway platform, you know, and I can interact with an ad, well, first of all, if, you know, the platform can tell it's me standing there, it has a better idea maybe what I'll be interested in. And then going from there, you know, as again, we think of these things as multi-person, social kinds of spaces. We can sort of get a few people together saying, oh yeah, that's something I've got, I like that, or why don't you try this instead? And, you know, start to have a space where it's not just about advertising, but it's about really more about marketing, about, you know, letting people interact and be social and discuss, and really figuring out perhaps what products are out there that are good for them, instead of I think what, you know, happens right now with one-way advertising. It's very focused on recognition, making you aware, but maybe not so focused on that question of, is it the right thing for you?